This is exercise number 1 from chapter 9. We have some statements below refer to the null and some refer to the alternative hypothesis. And for each of them they want us to state the null and alternative hypothesis using the appropriate parameters, mu or p. Alright. The first one, the mean number of years Americans work before retiring is 34. So keywords, mean, and is equal to 34. So this would have a mean that is equal to 34. And so if we have a mean equal to 34, this will make this our null hypothesis because it has a condition of equality, and therefore your alternative hypothesis, I guess they call it H sub A, is equal to, or is mu not equal to 34. So that's the first one. Second one, at most 60% of Americans vote in presidential elections. So 60%, percentages usually deal with proportions. So it says at most. So when we say at most, your proportion is bigger than, or it's not bigger than 60%. So we can write that as not bigger than, which means less than or equal to. The fact that this has an equal sign makes it your null hypothesis, and therefore your alternative hypothesis is going to be P bigger than 60%. I guess if you were to write this as a number, as you should, you can write 0.6 instead of the 60% symbol that we're using here, because you'll eventually have to perform some math on it, and we want the math to be in decimals. Okay, next one. The mean starting salary for graduates is at least 100,000. So we know that we're looking at the mean. At least means it's bigger than or equal to. It has to be equal to as well. So 100,000. Now this symbol has an equal sign, so again this will be our null hypothesis, and our alternative hypothesis would be the less than symbol. Okay, next one. 29% of high school seniors get drunk each month. So 29%. So again, a percentage, we must be looking at a proportion, and it looks like 29%. This time I'll write it as 0.29 as a decimal. And because this is an equal sign, this is your null hypothesis. Your alternative hypothesis is going to be not equal to 29%. Fewer than 5% of adults ride the bus in LA. Okay, again, a percentage. So we're looking at P fewer than, less than 5%. Now this is a less than symbol. It has no condition of equality, so this will have to be your alternative hypothesis, which means your null hypothesis should be a bigger than or an equal to symbol. So that's for that one. Next, the mean number of cars a person owns in her life is not more than 10. So for this one, the mean number of cars, mean number of cars, mu, not more than 10. not more than 10. So it could be up to 10, it could be less than 10, so it could be less than or equal to 10. Again, this has a condition of equality, which makes this your null hypothesis, and therefore you must have an alternative hypothesis that is the opposite of that, which is mu is bigger than 10. Alright, moving on. About half of the Americans prefer to live away from the cities given the choice. Let's put this one around here. About half of the Americans. Now this has no percentage, but it makes no mention of a mean, but it's looking at a proportion of Americans. So we'll stick with the proportion idea. The proportion, about half. Half is 50%, 0.5, or you can just literally put in half. And you're addressing this 1/2 as 1/2 is your number, and so it's an equal sign, which makes this a null hypothesis. And so the alternative hypothesis is not half, or not equal to a half. The next one, Europeans have a mean paid vacation each year of 6 weeks. So Europeans have a mean paid vacation of 6 weeks. So it looks like our parameter is your mean, and the paid vacation, the number of paid vacation is 6 weeks. So this will be your null hypothesis, and then your alternative hypothesis therefore would be the not equal to symbol. Okay, moving on. The chance of developing breast cancer is under 11% for women. So we're looking at a percentage here. So we must be addressing the proportion, and is under, so that's less than 11%. Now this does not have a condition of equality, so this must be your alternative hypothesis, which means your null hypothesis should be the opposite that includes a condition of equality bigger than or equal to 11%. And then finally, private universities have mean tuition cost that is more than $20,000. So a mean tuition cost, we're looking at the mean tuition cost is more than $20,000 per year, and this is something that does not contain a condition of equality, so we'll call it H sub A. So our null hypothesis, I usually like putting my null hypothesis first, but in this case I'll put it down below. Mu is less than or equal to 20,000. Alright, so this is a warm-up for getting us through stating our claims and making our null and alternative hypothesis statements. And this is our first step in performing hypothesis test. So I hope this helps with your homework.